Brisbane's a pretty good place to live, but in the space of just 1 week, Brisbane has been named as the worst city for 2 different things by 2 different reports. So what are those 2 things? I'll fill you in on all the details, some possible causes, and how likely things are to change. The first thing that is worst in Brisbane is traffic congestion.
I'm just on my way home now. It's 5 o'clock. I'm not going to get home till probably 6:30 or 7. Lucky I get paid by the hour. But I'm stuck in traffic. This is a 100 zone. What am I doing? 20. Jeez.
Not only was Brisbane the worst out of all Australian cities, but it placed 12th on the list of most congested cities in the world. This is based on findings of the INRIX Global Traffic Scorecard 2023, which analysed 947 urban areas worldwide. The report found that Brisbane commuters lost on average 74 hours to traffic delays. That's about enough time to make 3,600 lattes, or to do a grease and oil change on your car. 140 times. That's a lot of time to lose. Oh, you could always take public transport. But that's the other thing. A report by Climate Council found that out of the biggest 5 Australian state capitals, Brisbane was by far the worst in terms of people's access to all-day frequent public transport services. It found that only 1 in 3 people living in Greater Brisbane has access to all-day frequent public transport services. Not only that, but it found that access to good public transport is 27% lower in lower income suburbs. According to the report, access to good public transport ends 8 kilometres from the city centre for most people. So, worst public transport, worse traffic congestion, I'm sure you can see how those 2 things go hand in hand. A sprawling city with poor access to public transport, that leaves Brisbane residents little choice but to rely on cars to get around. But let's look at the situation in more detail and what city councils and state government plan to do about it. Is there any hope for Brisbane? As far as the traffic congestion goes, part of it is that Brisbane's population is growing rapidly. It's predicted southeast Queensland's population will increase by 2.2 million people to 6 million by 2046. Not only does more people mean more direct strain on transportation systems, but those people also need to eat and purchase products, so increase in population also means more freight trucks on the roads. So even if we reduce traffic with better public transport options and more active transport infrastructure, the trucks that deliver food and goods to the increasing population may still put a strain on the roads. So what are those in power planning to do about both congestion and the poor state of public transport? Before the last council election earlier this year, I interviewed Brisbane Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner, and here's what he had to say about tackling road congestion.
So there's no one silver bullet when it comes to traffic congestion, and if you look at the experiences of cities all around the world, some cities just give up and they accept it is a fact of life. We're not going to do that. We need to keep investing. So we've got a 4-point plan when it comes to traffic congestion, and so it's a combination of different strategies. It's investing in upgrading roads where they're needed, and particularly major arterial routes and trunk corridors, because the reality is we'll continue to have traffic coming from outside of Brisbane into Brisbane from all of the growing areas around us, and they'll be coming and using the roads here. And as the population grows, road investment is required. Second critical thing is moving from public transport to mass transit through projects like Brisbane Metro with more high frequency turn up and go services. So that's very much part of the plan. And later on this year, Brisbane Metro services will start operating. But when they start operating, there'll be a complete refresh of the bus network as well, because the Metro services will allow us to redirect standard bus services to more parts of the city and put on more frequency, better services in a lot of different parts of the city. So that's happening later on this year. The third part of the 4-point plan is to invest in active travel opportunities. And so that is whether it's bikeways, river walks, green bridges. These are things that we've continued to invest in, and they're really important to give people alternatives. And that's particularly relevant in some of the inner city areas where people can quite easily walk and cycle or scoot to where they need to go. That takes cars off the road, and that's a great thing, and that's part of reducing traffic congestion. And then the final part of the 4-point plan is getting better use out of our existing infrastructure. Now, You've battled through the midweek traffic, and it's been interesting since the pandemic. Traffic is generally lighter on Mondays and Fridays, with flexible work environments, people working from home on those days. But in the middle of the week, the traffic is diabolical, and so what that says is that there's also some management of the existing network and travel demand management that can help as well. And one of the things we announced was a brand new traffic management system to be introduced in Brisbane. There's some great systems coming into play around the world now. Our technology that we use to control traffic signals is 1980s, 1990s technology, and there's some great new technology and other examples in other cities around the world where they've started using this new technology. They can get something like 25% better efficiency and better traffic flow out of an existing network by improving the technology that manages the road network and the transport network. So we're looking across all of those 4 areas. As I said, there's no one silver bullet, but investing across all of those areas will help.
Okay. While city and state government are committed to projects that increase the capacity of major roads, the fear of some is that this will not help long term due to a phenomenon called induced demand. This is where the more you widen a road, the more people want to use it, so it only fixes things temporarily and actually leads to more cars on the road over time. So how do we get more people off the roads? Public and active transport can play a major role. Shrina talked about the Brisbane Metro, which despite the misleading name, is just a really long bus, a bi-articulated bus. It's scheduled to begin operations in October this year. While the routes it'll take won't expand the area of accessible public transport, it will provide the opportunity to reallocate existing buses to new routes that could improve the overall network. Time will tell if Brisbane City Council does make the most of that opportunity. Along with Brisbane City Council's upcoming metro, the Queensland Government is working on expanding the rail network with the Cross River Rail project. Once it's up and running from sometime in early 2026, the Cross River Rail will improve public transport capacity and convenience if you're commuting to the city or getting around close to the city centre, but it does little to improve things outside that 8-kilometre radius from downtown Brisbane that's already enjoying decent public transport options. So let's look at public transport in those areas identified as the most lacking. In Climate Council's report, Moreton Bay City Council's Hills District and Logan's Beenleigh and Browns Plains suburbs were listed as the most in need. While Brisbane City Council recently negotiated for additional funding from the Queensland Government and increased share of bus ticket revenue to fund an additional 160,000 bus services to coincide with the trial of 50-cent fares, other councils within Greater Brisbane are yet to negotiate similar support. Moreton Bay Mayor Peter Flannery has called on the state government to prioritise public transport in his LGA, where only 3% of residents' trips are made by rail and 2% by bus. The Brisbane Channel will follow any response from the Queensland Government and keep you in the loop, so make sure you're subscribing to stay tuned to that. As for the Logan LGA, in June, the Queensland Government announced almost $70 million in additional funding to develop bus services in Logan and Ipswich, along with another $24 million per year to grow the bus network. Besides public transport, another thing that could get more cars off the road and reduce congestion is improved active transport infrastructure. Things like cycleways and better pedestrian access. But that's really worthy of a video of its own. It's in the works, so subscribe and make sure you've got all notifications on so you don't miss it when it does come out. Only time will tell how all of these changes improve both Greater Brisbane's public transport accessibility and appeal and our city's abysmal road congestion, but the Brisbane Channel will be here to report it to you in video form. And don't forget to check the channel's community tab from time to time for smaller updates. I'll see you there.